Hi everyone! Hello everybody! I'm Lauren. You might recognize me from Steve's other channel. And today we're actually going to a private screening of My Scientology Movie.
Which is going to be in theaters on March 10th, this upcoming Friday. So Lauren was here because she wanted to do a little bit of an interview with me for my channel in anticipation of the film that's going to be released on Friday. And it's going to be in theaters in Los Angeles at the ArcLight in Hollywood. But if you don't live in the Los Angeles area, it's also going to be on demand, on iTunes, and on Amazon Video. So you'll be able to see it basically from your own home or from your own computer. So we wanted to do a little video for you guys today, and yeah, Lauren, take it away.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask Steve some questions and he's gonna explain to us his experience within the church. Okay, so I have my questions ready and I put so much thought into them. Okay, so my first question is, when did you enter Scientology?
I got into Scientology in 2009 when I first moved to LA. I did a whole 2.5 hour video. For those of you who haven't seen it, it is on my channel, where I kind of go into a little bit more details on how I got into the church. But I was reading Backstage newspaper in 2009, and the ad that I saw was how to break into the industry, how to get a talent agent, how to get a talent manager, how to get in the Screen Actors Guild. So I was going through Backstage trying to figure out how do I get started in the industry, and this seemed like one of those type of seminars that would help give me a little bit of a, I didn't think it was going to be life-changing, but I thought like, hey, maybe it can give me a couple of different tools on what I should be doing as a new person to Hollywood. And then I went into the workshop, and it was at the Church of Scientology Celebrity Center, and that's what ended up getting me roped into Scientology, because the workshop was a bait and switch. It wasn't necessarily like an acting class. It was more like a few seconds about acting, and then it turned into like, oh, this is really about Scientology.
Got it. Well, yeah, that answers my next question, which was, how were you persuaded to go and stay in the church? So you kind of answered that.
Right. Well, that's the thing. When it's a celebrity center, for me as an 18-year-old, I'm like, wow, like I'm in this place where all these famous people study. Well, they all study Scientology, but they're also having like these different courses and workshops and classes about acting. And I'm like, if these successful people, the Tom Cruises, the John Travoltas, the Kirstie Alleys, those type of people, if they're in this church, like they must be doing something right, I thought. And it was explained as a self-help philosophy that can help you better your own life, your mind, so you can get rid of this part of your mind that holds you back. And just everything to me, like of course, it's very glossy, it's very pretty. You don't really know until you actually start getting involved what you're getting yourself into. But for me at 18 years old, I just thought like, this is going to be what's going to like launch my career.
But when you saw the ad in Backstage magazine, what is Backstage magazine? That's like an actor's magazine, right?
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with Scientology.
No. Yeah.
So when you saw the ad, did it say anything that had to do with Scientology, or it's just like, oh, if you want to be an actor and you want to break into the business, please come to this seminar or whatever?
I can put like a little insert so you guys can see like the type of ads that they would have, but it said breaking into the industry, hosted by this actor named Gino Montesinos. And Gino had like some different like television credits, so they'd be like, you can see Gino in these different TV shows to kind of like legitimize who is teaching this class. And I'll say, these are the things that we're going to cover in the class: how to get an agent, how to get a manager, and all that sort of stuff. And at the bottom, it did say at Celebrity Center International on Franklin Avenue. It includes a book by, renowned author L. Ron Hubbard. But again, at 18 years old, you're not thinking like this is necessarily going to be this big bait and switch scheme. Like I was a young kid, I didn't think like, oh, I had to really like look into it. It just seemed like they had this huge glossy ad hosted by another actor, and I thought this is probably a really great opportunity to meet someone who can maybe help me with my career.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then, did you know any back history about Scientology before you ended up going, or once you started taking your courses there, your classes, did you end up like Googling what actually is Scientology? Were you familiar with it at all? Did you know anything about it?
I knew L. Ron Hubbard was the founder of the Church of Scientology, but I didn't necessarily know anything about what that was or what that meant. Now for me, at 18 years old, I was very rebellious feeling when I first moved to LA because of all the things I went through with my family and my parents and growing up in this Catholic church environment. Like I wanted to rebel against a lot of that. So for me to be involved in some other church that wasn't Catholic or oriented with like my faith, it seemed like, ooh, it's kind of rebellious. Like later on when I found out what Scientology was and everything, I'm like, oh cool, like this is like this alternative, like kind of like, it felt kind of hippie to me. It's really not hippie, but you know, it kind of felt like this like new age sort of thing. And I was all about like exploring something new. But the only time I had any experience with Scientology before I got involved was like at the local mall, like where I grew up. Like they had like the little stress test tables. Like to take a stress test, and I'd ask my dad like, oh, I want to take a stress test. Oh no, like stay away, it's probably just some sort of scam thing.
Oh.
But again, we didn't know it was Scientology. Later on I realized that was Scientology doing recruitment, but I never took the test then. I've seen like maybe one or two little YouTube promo type of videos, but nothing that would really steer me away.
Yeah.
I didn't know enough like what we all know now. Like if I knew all that before I went in, of course I wouldn't have stepped in the door, but for me, it just seemed like it'd be a cool place to go to, you know, rebel and learn about acting and all these other sort of things. Yeah, to rebel and do something against my prior faith.
So then did you tell your parents like, oh, I'm taking classes at this place and whatever? Did you tell them that it was Scientology? Did they know about it? How did they react?
That's the thing. I told them that I was going to the Celebrity Center, and then I eventually kind of told them that it was affiliated to Scientology. But again, we're from a small town, so my family didn't necessarily know that Scientology was, you know, forced abortions, David Miscavige beats his staff, and all this, you know, really crazy stuff that goes on, you know, walking in saunas, you know, stealing my social security number, credit cards. Like none of that stuff was happening.
Yeah.
You know, right off the bat to me. So I had a positive experience for the first couple weeks because I thought it was genuinely helping me learn how to become a better person. But later on, my family, like once I got involved and was doing more courses and that sort of stuff, then my parents started to question things when they saw that there was like out points and there was things that were wrong that were going on. I mean, I guess maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but, you know, my family would, you know, like near the end, like in the last like year or so, like would tell me, you know, like this is a cult, this is a scam, like this program that you're doing is, you know, gonna hurt your body, like all these different things. And I had to just basically disconnect from them in the sense of like I can only talk to them about like what they consider like, you know, fair roads, good weather sort of stuff, which is a policy like, okay, so you're my mom.
Yeah.
I don't want to fully disconnect from you and never talk to you again. But if I start talking to you about what I'm doing in Scientology, it's going to upset me, and then I can no longer do further Scientology services because she's considered an enemy.
Right.
Because she's critical against Scientology. So I would just be like, oh, you know, how's the weather? You know, how's everything going? Okay, bye. Like, fair roads, good weather. How's the traffic? Like that's what, like just like light little basic stuff that's not going into like the deep stuff about Scientology or about what I was really doing. Like, okay, have a great day, bye. So I was really having this very artificial relationship because of my affiliation with Scientology.
And what did your friends think? Did your friends know?
Oh, you're
I know. For me,
should I ask you?
For me personally, I remember you wanted me to take a class with you, and I didn't know. I was living in California just briefly, so this was like the first time that I was living in California many moons ago. But I remember you were like, come take this class with me. It's going to be so good. We're going to better ourselves. It's really going to put a positive outlook on our life. And this is what we need to do. We're in a new city and da-da-da-da. And I remember I was speaking about it to one of our other friends. And she's like, you're absolutely crazy if you go to this thing. So I didn't even know.
Who's our other friend?
Sarah. Do you remember that? No?
I don't remember you telling her that, but yeah.
Yeah, so I remember she was like, that's wild, like you shouldn't do that. But I didn't really know that much about Scientology until I actually lived in Southern California. I feel like since Hollywood is out here, I feel like the presence of Scientology is much more prominent here than it is, like I'm from New Jersey, but even like New York City, I feel like it's not really prominent there. Like I feel like LA is like where Scientology
Right. Well, they have a hub here, which is a lot of like the advanced, like, because they have AOLA, which is basically down the street from right here. Have Big Blue, but they also have ASHO, where they do a lot of like training. They have AOLA, the advanced org. So a lot of people come to LA to do like the OT levels and higher level Scientology services, and it's just that Scientology has a huge, presence in LA, as well as Clearwater, which is like their hub.
Yeah.
New York, they do have like an org. We're like right in like Times Square sort of area, but it's not the same as it is in like California or somewhere where there was like 40 orgs just like within 30 minutes of where we are sitting in my living room right now. So Scientology is huge in LA, but that's the thing. Like for me, I honestly thought like I wasn't like people think like, oh, you just try to rope people into Scientology because you want to get like a commission, that sort of thing. And like, yeah, like if I was to bring in Scientology and then you did $200,000 of services, I may get like $10,000 or $20,000 of that, like over the time. Like they'll give me a small like commission off of it. But that wasn't why I was doing it. Like it would be beneficial because then I could do more Scientology off of the money that I would get off someone like you if you also continued on in Scientology. But it wasn't necessarily about that. For me, it was more like I honestly feel like this is like life or death. Like if I don't save you as my friend, then you're not gonna have another chance. Like it's only in this lifetime that we can basically be saved. And then go clear and go OT. And if you don't do it this lifetime, you may never again have another chance to go free and have that spiritual freedom. So if I care about you as my friend, like I want to make sure that you are taken care of and that you do this, because it honestly at first felt like it was the most helpful thing in the world. And everything's explained so thoroughly, and I'm studying all about Scientology, Dianetics, auditing, like all of basically Scientology. So I got such a technical understanding of it. I'm like, wow, like it all makes sense. Like in that mindset, it all makes sense. So this is the only answer to save you, to save me, to get rid of this part of our mind. Like, for example, like say like you said, like, oh, I'm going to take a Xanax or something. If I was in Scientology, I'd be like, we have the answers to anxiety. Like, don't drug yourself. Don't go on psychiatric pills, because we actually have the tools. Like you believe, like like the one way to handle that is to go clear. Get rid of that reactive mind. That's why you have anxiety. So like anytime I met anyone or came across any sort of circumstance, I always wanted to feel like I was helping everyone. Because I felt like my group had the answers to the world's problems.
Well, disclaimer, I never went. I never took a class. So, I mean, that's fine. So you were kind of saying how in the beginning you essentially did have a positive experience, or you were just thinking that you were having a positive experience?
Yeah, that's kind of a loaded question in a way, because there were times in the beginning where it was positive. But to me, it was kind of like I had Stockholm Syndrome in a way, like you love your abuser sort of thing. So it's hard for me, like even now, to determine. Is determine a word? It's hard for me to determine. I don't think determinate's a word. Determinate? I don't think determinate's a word. Determine. For me to determine whether it was just Stockholm Syndrome sort of thing, or I actually did benefit in a positive way. Now, did Scientology provide to me like that sense of family, that sense of community, that sense of belonging and purpose? Like in the beginning, yes. I honestly feel like it did save me when I first came to LA from, dabbling into drugs or like any sort of like other things like that. Like I kind of kept myself in a very clean, very narrow sort of existence when I was in Scientology, which was good. So I feel like, okay, kind of, because you do the purification program, you cleanse yourself of all the toxins.
The purification rundown actually opens the way to spiritual progress. It's an all-natural regimen which frees one from the harmful effects of drugs and toxins. Old drugs that you took, pesticides, you sweat all those things out of your system and you feel so much more alive. It's revitalizing.
The simplicity and the power of it was immeasurable.
Everything, so I kind of felt like I was doing something to better my life in the beginning. But a real religion doesn't, rob you, steal your credit cards, take your money, doesn't lock you in rooms, doesn't do all those sort of things, doesn't try to make you sign a billionaire slave contract and give up everything you own to live and work there 7 days a week around the clock for the next billion years of my existence. Like normal groups don't do that, So there were some things that were positive, like I could communicate with people better and doing the training routine drills, but then they're also said to be hypnotizing. So then when you think about it, it's like, maybe it benefited me, but then they were basically hypnotizing me. But then some people say hypnotism isn't really maybe necessarily the worst thing in the world. unless it's really used to like hypnotize you in order to make you do something you don't want to do.
Right.
But then again, they have different drills and things that they do that are hypnotic. Put your pen on that paper. Thank you. Sign the contract. And over hour and hour and hour and hour and hour. Eventually, you just give in.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's hypnotism or coercion or whatever, they just were always doing manipulative things. So, if I put, the good things here, like the bad things are obviously up here. The few good things aren't worth somebody going to Scientology for. So what happens is people write to me and they say, oh, like, should I just take the $50 course or should I take that workshop? It's like, no. If for me, you can't just take 1 or 2 little workshops. You get roped into this big game that Scientology is playing. And you take 1 or 2 classes, you're supporting David Miscavige, you're supporting their church and their abuses. And anything that you're looking for, you can basically get on the internet. If you really were looking to learn something about Scientology, it's not worth going into the church for. And now, another disclaimer, I'm not promoting independent Scientology, I don't promote that you go into the free zone or any of that sort of thing, but if you're looking to practice Scientology outside of the church, again, because all these people in the comment section are always saying, I'm defending Scientology, but then they talk shit about it or whatever, it's not that. I'm just saying, like, if someone was really compelled to do some auditing or actually see what it's actually about, there's people who have left the church who are highly trained who can maybe do a little bit of auditing on you if that's what you're really looking for. But on the list of things to do to get help with, like, say, mental health, because remember, Scientology is the answer to mental health.
Right.
If you're really looking for mental health help, there's a million different things you can do before anyone, including me, would ever recommend to do a Scientology counseling session.
Yeah. Keep that in mind, friends. So while you were still in the church, when did you reach your breaking point? When were you like, okay, I've had enough, I have to leave, I have to get a hold on this and just...
Yeah. Like over like the last year that I was in, I was like having like my doubts, I was having a lot of things happen to me that I couldn't necessarily rationalize, like it's helping people.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole thing, like I would say, oh well, we're a group that's salvaging mankind, we're doing something good for the planet. Because they want to like promote, like in all their glossy magazines and stuff, like we're going to disaster sites and we're sending a plane down to give food and to do these, healing programs and all these sort of things. Like, so on the outside, it looks really great. Until you actually get in, you see what Scientology is really doing. But for me, like you're in that bubble, so you can't read the newspaper when you're in Scientology, you can't go online, like you can't do any of that sort of stuff. Did I still go online or read the news? Yes, but not involving Scientology. Like I wouldn't look at anything critical about Scientology because that's considered like not good. Like you can't do that. So for me, like I still had a phone, I could still text you or someone, but I was never really able to fully get out of like the brainwashed state until I met Jeff, who's my now husband. And then I was kind of realizing like, basically, living a lie because I can't be myself, because you can't be gay when you're in Scientology. So if I want to be who I was, I can't necessarily be in Scientology and be who I really want to be. So I had to basically, move out of my apartment, change my number and everything just to get away, because they'll just call you nonstop. Yeah. Like they'll just hound you until like you're just like, all right, I'll give it one more shot or something. I didn't want them to try to manipulate me in any other way. Like I had to just like completely remove myself out of the situation. So like, yes, stealing $50,000 from me is a lot, or locking me in a room, or passing it on the purification program, or the staff recruitment things. Like there were so many different little things, but I think all of it together, coupled with being gay, I guess is a good thing, because it kind of saved me from getting roped in more, because I would still probably be in, because if I was straight, I mean, Scientology is hugely anti-gay, so if I was straight, it wouldn't be as a big deal for me if they were anti-gay. Right. Of course, straight people can be gay allies and that sort of stuff, but when you're in Scientology, being gay is considered being covertly hostile. It's like being like this very downtown, very evil sort of, corrupt being. Cool. Which is interesting to think of it like that, but yeah, that's Scientology things. Cool.
So cool. So, when you were a part of the church, did you actually associate yourself, or were you like, okay, I'm 100% a Scientologist, this is my religion? Did you believe as a religion, that was your religion?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I was on posters 2 or 3 months before I left as a lifetime member of Scientology. I paid $5,000 and became a lifetime member. And on the poster outside of like the examiner's office in Celebrity Center, I can probably link it in here if I find the picture, but it said something along the lines of, there's no better time to call yourself a Scientologist, become a lifetime member.
Wow.
And that's taken it outside the examiner's office. And the reason it was outside the examiner's office is because they said that, anyone who comes, because after you do a course or an auditing session, you'd go see the examiner, and the examiner is kind of like what's like the layman word for it? It's almost like your teacher giving you like an A+ or something. Like, you'd see the examiner and you'd go on the e-meter and you'd hold the cans. And the reason the poster was outside the examiner's office was because that the examiner is a person you see after you finish a Scientology course or an auditing session, and they basically validate your wins. So it's kind of like your teacher giving you an A+ on your exam, or someone who's basically, above you, who can verify if you actually reached the end state. Now, the e-meter is basically like a lie detector, essentially. You hold the cans, metal cans, it sends like a watch battery type of volt through your body, and it's basically like a it's not dangerous or anything, but it's just like a skin response meter. So like by like your grip and by your sweat and by like different things, it's able to pick up like the electrical current or the electrical flow, and it can tell essentially, just like a police polygraph.
Yeah.
It's basically like being on a police polygraph meter, and you'd sit there and say for the communication, grade 0. The end result is, I can communicate with anyone on any subject. So you're holding the cans, and the examiner doesn't say a word. You just come in, because they don't want to say anything, because they don't want to. Exactly. Yeah. So then you just hold the cans, and then they look at you, and then so if they have like the notes, like they would pull out a little card that would say the end phenomena on it, and then you would say like, I can communicate with anyone in any subject. And you're just holding the cans, waiting, and then they're waiting to see like what the needle does on the other side. So then if your needle's floating, that basically means like a spiritual release, win, like you're happy, sort of thing. And they'll be like, okay, your needle is floating, thank you. And they write the notes down, and then you would attest as having achieved that state. So, and they're like, okay, that's so much mumbo jumbo, what's that mean? You're sitting there, and you just had someone else verify to you that you can communicate with anyone on any subject. Like the auditing worked. There's someone on the other side who basically says, thank you. Like you achieved that on the lie detector type of machine. You're writing a success story about all the wins you had in the auditing and how wonderful it is. It gets you like in this state of mind where you just feel, like
empowered.
Yeah, and you're just always like supposed to be in that state, because you do Scientology every day for at least 2.5 hours. So you're always like drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. So the reason they had my poster outside of the examiner's office was they said like, by looking at the poster, Steve Mango, he is such a theta being, like so spiritual. And when you're about to go to see the examiner, you can look at that poster of Steve Mango, and it's going to make you so happy that everyone's going to go into the examiner's office, and then their needle's going to flow, because they saw like how happy and positive Steve Mango just radiates theta off of the photo, and they're just like feeding my ego that I'm this big, spiritual, amazing, like super powerful being. And here I'm hanging up at the Celebrity Center, so celebrities can go into see the examiner. They're going to see my face on the poster. It just seemed like this cool little club.
Wow.
So
do you think they still have that poster?
No, not at all.
Are they like throwing darts at it?
That's the funny thing, that for a while I was like under the radar. Like I didn't officially like say, screw you, I'm out of this place.
Yeah.
Like I would not go, but they still were trying to get me to come in, because again, I'm this like public poster boy. So why wouldn't I be around the church?
Right.
So for like at least 3 or 4 months, I was still up on those posters in the org. Like I forget how I found out. Someone told me like I was still up on those posters, even though I was like making the video like right here, guys, in the backyard. Like you guys can see, like that's where I filmed my first 2.5 hour movie. I was out there probably filming my movie, and they still had the poster of me at that Celebrity Center. So that's what was crazy about it.
Wow. How long ago did you film that YouTube video? Or what? YouTube? Is it YouTube video?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It came out in 2014 in January, and I started filming it in 2013, like say around August or something. And
So
then it took a few months to edit it and get it up.
Yeah.
And I had the premiere at the Acme Movie Theater, but it was the Acme Theater where they do like comedy shows and stuff, and that's where I had the screening, and that was about January-ish.
Wow, so it's been 3 years already.
Yeah.
Time is flying.
And now it has about 750,000 views.
Wow.
I have about 1.5 million views on my channel, just in general, exposing Scientology. So, and now I'm in My Scientology Movie, and I was just on IMRU Radio discussing Scientology. I was on Studio 10 in Australia discussing Scientology a few years ago on the news.
Thanks for that, Jono. Well, Steven Mango arrived in Los Angeles as an aspiring actor, bright-eyed and looking for stardom, but instead he got sucked into what he calls Hollywood's most dangerous, secretive and famous cult.
The world of Scientology intrigues us all. Its glamorous followers are some of the biggest names in Hollywood. But behind the world of glitz and glamour lies a dark, money-grabbing, suppressive world. Steven Mango fell into this world and it nearly destroyed him. He's now bringing to light all of their secrets, how they lure you in and control every aspect of your life.
And Steve joins us live now from Los Angeles. Steve.
I have an upcoming episode of an A&E reality show, can't say the name of it yet, but where I talk about the E-meter in a little bit more depth. So I've been getting a lot of opportunities to continue to speak out against Scientology. So, you know, one little video in the backyard, which initially I thought was just to go towards other people who watch these videos who might have priorly been in Scientology, or people who just are interested about it. Like, I thought like my video was just to help a couple people who left, where I can tell my sort of like, this is what happened at Celebrity Center, just so you know of like what I went through, and as this young public member, and I didn't necessarily, and I wanted to expose like all the different outpoints I saw, but I didn't necessarily think that it would have like public interest, that random people on the street would stop me and say like, I saw your video and this is how, you know, it's impacted me or my family, or just in general, or I didn't think it was going to spread to be like a viral thing.
So how has it been since your transition out of Scientology and all this stuff is coming up? How has it been? How are you feeling?
Life is better now than it would be if I was ever in Scientology. Like, I'm still going through a lot of different things, like trying to find myself spiritually and that sort of thing. Like, people like to say like Leah Remini is like already was able to go to like the Catholic Church and do baptisms or something like that. And it's like amazing, good. Like, I'm not putting someone down for that, like that's amazing, but for me, like, it's still hard for me just to be like, okay, I'm gonna just switch faiths after going through something so traumatic. Like, some people can jump right into something. Like, I did a couple Buddhism class things, and I've done a couple other church, you know, went to some different church things, or researched different things, but it's hard because, you know, I gave like my whole heart and my whole mind and everything to Scientology essentially, and I related to it so much that it's so hard to find something to compare in the same way. Like, nothing's going to compare to Scientology. And I'm not saying that I believe in it now, or I'm looking for something to compare to it in that regard.
You just invested so much of your life into it. Yeah.
My adult life, when I was trying to find myself as an adult, like, Scientology was there, and like everything I knew as an adult was Scientology, and they brainwash you that every single thing you want to do in life, or you're looking into, or anything, you're looking for an L. Ron Hubbard reference. How do I feed my child? L. Ron Hubbard has a reference on what to feed your newborn baby. Like, whatever it is, like, L. Ron Hubbard has a reference for it.
Yeah.
So it's hard to like live your life, even for 4 years, however long, just deeply engulfed in L. Ron Hubbard every day, 2.5 or 7.5 hours a day, like however long I was going. But sometimes pretty much all day long I'd be there studying hundreds of like pages of books, all the basic books, listening to Congress lectures, going into the sauna for the purification program, receiving counseling, or auditing, like all these different things, and then you get into this big, you know, state, and then it's hard to find something that compares in the order of feeling how I felt then. I don't know how to describe it, it's just weird.
Yeah.
It's hard to find something for me that I clicked with as I clicked with Scientology, basically.
Right.
is what I'm trying to say.
So what are your goals now for yourself now? Are you still gonna dabble in acting or what?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I guess also tying that into like the last question and stuff too. Like, my life is obviously much better. Like, I have my husband. Like, we have our home. We have our dogs. Like, life is good. Like, I'm still dealing with post-traumatic stress. I'm still dealing with depression and everything. But for me, like, I guess one of the goals, is to continue to expose Scientology. Now, it's not going to be my full-time career. Like, some people are like, oh, like, you just want to make money off it or profiteer or something. Like, you can look at my YouTube earnings. I don't have like millions of dollars in YouTube earnings. Like, this isn't my full-time job. I can't support myself on $100 of YouTube ads or something like that. So squashing that, like, it's not my full-time job. But I have a responsibility to help others. I have a responsibility to let others know about what Scientology is doing to people. So for me, I have to continue to speak out. I'm writing my book about Scientology. I'll be out in the next couple months. I'm going to continue working on my channel, doing more public media appearances and going on television. But one of my life goals was to be in a Louis Theroux documentary, which was funny because my husband and I were watching a Louis Theroux documentary about Las Vegas, and Jeff was like, no, like, what is Louis Theroux going to ever have anything to do with you? Because I said, like, I want to be in a Louis movie. I mean, you know how I am. Like, I always say, like, I come up with a new idea of something I want to do or accomplish. Like, every, 4 hours, I come up with something. So it could have been just a passing thought, whatever. But, for my husband, it's like, first, like, he's in the UK.
Right.
Or whatever, like, BBC. Like, it's not America. Like, what's the chance Louis Theroux is going to come to LA and interview me about what? Because it wasn't me speaking out at that time. So no one was thinking, like, it'd be about Scientology. But then, of course, I got approached to be in that, so that was a big life goal, to see myself in a movie, but also to see myself in a movie being an activist is just, it's going to help me a lot as the movie continues to spread my YouTube channel, because then other people write into me and it helps me heal because I kind of hear other people's stories.
Right.
Got to connect with different people, so that's really good. But yeah, I'm trying to do more acting stuff. I'm going to get another agent, hopefully this year, and manager, and try to go on acting auditions, but nothing that I'm doing in terms of my Scientology exposing is me trying to gain attention for my acting or trying to put myself out there publicly on YouTube to try to benefit my acting. Or because people think, like, oh, he's a fame whore or something. It's like, Scientology, if anything, if you say the word Scientology, it ruins your reputation.
Yeah.
Scientology doesn't benefit you as a wannabe actor or something.
Yeah.
I can't go to a casting director. I'm a former Scientologist and go, oh wow, that's a great
Let me
public
sign
thing.
you right now.
Yeah, let me give you an acting job because that's so wonderful that you talk on YouTube about about Scientology or something. Like, oh, that qualifies you to be on the next sitcom on ABC or something. So it has nothing to do with that. But I'm gonna try to do some more acting stuff. I'm a hairdresser, so I'm trying to, grow my hairdressing business. But really, what's important to me is trying to continue to expose Scientology, helping others, finding my spirituality this year, and more acting stuff would be really nice. I really want to try to get into some more TV commercials, maybe take some classes, take some new headshots. Like, I want to try to do something like that because that's what I initially set out to do. Then Scientology distracted me for 4 years, and then the year or two after, or maybe even longer than that, I was picking up the pieces and starting to expose them and talk out about them. But I need to get back on track to doing what I was doing before I got caught up in this whirlwind of Scientology.
So how did you get approached by Louis Theroux or by My Scientology Movie to be a part of it?
Well, it was initially a project. It had Louis Theroux tied onto the project, but John Dower, who's the director, just kind of had a general idea of, like, we're shooting a film about Scientology, but they didn't know if they were going to be able to get the access they wanted into Scientology, because it's hard to make a film about something if they're not going to let you inside to actually see or meet other Scientologists or get to interview one. So they were denied access, so they kind of were learning which direction they wanted to go in with the film. But basically it was called Stairway to Heaven, a little fun fact, before they renamed it to My Scientology Movie. And John just sent me an email one day and was just like, hey, I'm this filmmaker from the UK, and I came across your channel about Scientology. Like, I'm doing a movie about Scientology. Like, I'd really love to talk to you. Like, this is my website, so you can see, like, my demo reel or whatever. Like, contact me by. Like, that was basically it. Like, it didn't word exactly that way, but that was basically the gist of the email.
Yeah.
So I'm like, do I even email him back? Because at this point, my video is going viral.
Yeah.
And I can't respond to every single person. Like, I would do my best, but again, it became overwhelming to respond to every single person, every single heartache, every single traumatic thing. Like, it was hard for me to, I would take on a lot to try to write to people. And I love when people write to me, like, now, because it helps me, and I love hearing people's stories, and I'm in a different place than I was then, because I was under a lot of attack when I first put out my video.
Right.
But I'm like, what's the chance some guy from the UK is gonna fly me out there, or they're going to come here to do a film about Scientology? I've never heard of John Dower. I'm sorry, John, but I've never heard of John Dower. Like, why would I jump and be like, oh, yeah, like, you don't know if it's a Scientology spy or who's contacting you. So that's the thing. I didn't know necessarily how to, what I should say, or if I should investigate it or even respond. And I basically, like, ignored it. And then I wrote to him and I said, like, hey, like, I'd be interested in talking to you about your project. Like, just, like, let me know. And then there was like 4 or 5 emails that went back and forth. Well, actually, I didn't answer, but he would write to me like, hey, like, I want to talk to you. Like, when's a good time that we can get together on the phone? Like, we're gonna be coming to LA, and like, are you available? Or are you still on vacation? Like, sending me like all these emails back and forth, like trying to tie me onto the project. And it seemed like he was really interested, and I couldn't get myself to sign on right away. Even though I was very vocal speaking out already, I was still a little bit hesitant, I guess is the best way to put it, yeah. So I eventually found out through John, like, oh, like, the project's with Louis Theroux, and, the BBC is tied on, and then I'm like, well, like, that at least legitimizes it more, and the BBC did some very prominent documentaries about Scientology with John Sweeney, Scientology and Me, and then there was, like, another 1 or 2 that they did that were very well known in terms of exposing Scientology. So I'm like, well, that would be cool. The BBC is known to speak out, and they're fearless about it, so let's see what this is about. So then I Googled Louis Theroux, and I'm not thinking like, oh, Jeff and I saw his documentary on Las Vegas and all this other stuff, and he's one of the biggest documentary filmmakers in the world. And I'm like, done, like, I'm in. If Louis gonna interview me, then like, yeah, I'm in. And not just because like, oh, it's like a person, like, Louis gonna interview me, like, it wasn't just that. It was that, like, my voice, like, people are going to see it because there's someone prominently involved in it. So I knew that, like, my story, my voice would be heard by millions of people. Like, I have to do it.
Yeah.
So I, so like, yeah, like, I'll do it, whatever. Like, John came to the house and, like, checked out the house because we're going to be filming at the house. And initially we're going to be filming in front of Celebrity Center. And that's what I was nervous about, because this was before I was, like, protesting Scientology or anything, I couldn't get myself to film in front of the Celebrity Center because this was before I was actively protesting against Scientology, and I was, all this summer I was holding signs.
Yes, I was there.
You were there, like, that video is going to be coming soon, and I was very heavily protesting, but this was a few years before that, so me being outside Celebrity Center would drop a lot of emotion, so I was kind of nervous about that, and luckily they cut that, because emotionally I don't think I could have handled being out there and having them confront me, or releasing some statement about me that I'm an enemy, because it was still very touchy for me.
Right.
So then we met at this hotel in Hollywood on, like, Franklin or something, and that's when it all, like, kind of hit me, like, this is real, because I didn't know how big of a production it was going to be or what the deal was, but I saw Louis filming, like, by the pool, and he was all these cameras on him, like, filming, like, whatever he was talking about, like a little interview sort of thing. I'm like, oh, like, this is real. Like, they were miking me, and they had this huge camera that was mounted on the trunk of a car, and we were Louis was driving, like, Louis and I hopped in the car, whatever, and we just started talking and, like, driving around Hollywood. There was a big camera mounted on, like, the front of the car, and we're just talking, doing, like, an interview about my life. We eventually got to this place where I was, like, crying, essentially, that the camera died or something when I was crying, so we didn't catch, like, that moment or something of me, like, crying about Scientology. But then eventually we came to the house. Louis met my husband Jeff, and our 2 dogs who've since passed on, Borgar and Lily, and we shot at the house, and then we also went in the basement, which is in the film, and this is the thing I was embarrassed about, because they showed my basement in the film as if, like, that's where I live in this big squander of a mess. It was, like, so embarrassing, because they make it seem like, oh, this is where I live, like, jumping over, like, all, like, this, like, piles of clothes and stuff. But that wasn't really, like, my living situation. That was just the basement, because they insisted, like, let's go check out the basement, because that's where all my Scientology books and stuff were.
Yeah.
But they want, like, an authentic feel, probably, to, you know, they want me to be like, welcome to my grand estate, you know, they wanted me to, you know, be in the basement, and, you know. Yeah, so then a while went by, about a year went by, and didn't hear anything. And then they contacted me, because, again, they're trying to figure out the direction of the film. So then they say, oh, we're going to be doing, like, these reenactment scenes about the hole and about, like, all these other traumatic things that happen in Scientology. We're going to recreate it with actors. Like, do you want to be in one of the scenes? So I got to be in one of the scenes of the hole, which is like the Scientology prison. And Marty Rathbun was there. And if you guys want to know my thoughts on Marty Rathbun in regard to his involvement in My Scientology Movie, that's on my channel. It has probably 30 to 50,000 views about me exposing the lies of Marty Rathbun, because he wants to twist what really happened at the film.
Right.
That one thing happened, but he has a whole different recollection of it. So I exposed Marty Rathbun. But anyway, so then we were filming with Marty, who was a very high-up executive, and doing all these, like, acting scenes with Andrew Perez as well, who played David Miscavige, who was a really, like, chilling performance in the film. And that was really exciting to, you know, work with him and to work with the BBC. Like, they did a really great job on recreating it authentically of what really happened inside Scientology. There was a couple other scenes that didn't actually make the cut, but then, yeah, basically I filmed that, and then a while went by, again, didn't hear anything, and then we found out it got picked up at Tribeca Film Festival. And I went to Tribeca Film Festival last year,
Exciting.
and saw the film, and now, today, in March of 2017, we have My Scientology Movie private screening tonight with Louis Theroux and the BBC at ArcLight Theatre. And then I just heard from Magnolia Pictures Public Relations Department that the film was picked up at ArcLight for a 1-week guarantee. So if it does good after the week, it'll go longer, but it's guaranteed at ArcLight in Hollywood for at least a week. So it is screening at a big movie theater. I mean, Going Clear was screened at ArcLight, and then it got nominated for an Oscar. So I think that's just pretty cool. And again, another one of those moments that I can see myself on the big screen standing up against the bully of Scientology, and that's something that is really cool for me.
Yeah, and it is, like I said before, it's super important to just continue being an activist and just putting your heart out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's totally cool. So I'm very excited to see the movie, by the way. I'm so excited. How can everybody else watch it if you're not in Hollywood and you can't go to ArcLight?
The film is released this Friday, March 10th. It's going to be on demand on iTunes, on Amazon Video. So there's a multitude of different ways that you'll be able to see it on your television or on your computer. And it should be available on DVD at some point in time, but you can catch it on demand, iTunes or on Amazon Video this Friday. And I'm really excited for the movie to be seen on, like, a public level and for people in America, because it was screening and being shown internationally, but, you know, because of the big presence in America, like, this is going to be really huge for them to have this film out in America. So
Especially in LA.
Especially in LA, for it to be screened probably 15 minutes from the Scientology Center. It's just going to be major. So Lauren and I are getting ready right now, and we're going to be taking off to see the film, but we just want to do a little interview with you guys and share a little bit more of my story. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, comment down below in the comment box, subscribe to my channel. I also have 2 to 3 new YouTube channels. I have my vlogging and storytime channel that's linked down below as well. I have a video, remember Sherry, who I did a video with? Me and Sherry have a joint channel, and I have Mango Tea, which is my drama channel. That's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks as well. So all those links are down below if you want to keep tuned into my little YouTube video career that I have going on, and check out a couple different channels that I have. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll be back with more videos for you guys soon. Bye.